Hey everybody, Cliff Yates live here, YouTube vertical, raw and real, in the right place. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, join a community of progress. That's what I have going on here. Good to be back with you. Good to be back in Florida. A little breezy today, but 76 degrees right now. And it's just going to be a perfect sunny day right here in central Florida. But I'm on the East Coast. I'm on the Space Coast of Florida. So just 20 some miles south of Cape Canaveral, where the launches go, where Artemis went up, if you believe it. I do. Hey, glad to be back here in Florida. Just coming back from a trip to Philadelphia. I have two friends. And hey, listen, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, Cliff Yates, if you're just coming across my channel on the shorts feed, listen, you're in the right place. All self-improvement, personal growth stuff. It's always going to be positivity and how we can get better today than we were yesterday. And I'm on my way to the park right now to do my sprinting. I'll let a few more people jump on here before I kind of recap the trip I just came back from. Pretty spectacular, and I want to share that with you. Maybe you can use some of the information in your travels or just for some entertainment purposes. I am heading to the park over here, kind of near my townhome here, and going to do some sprints. And I try to sprint once a week. And the Primal Health Coaching certification that I took really suggested that we should sprint once every 7 to 10 days. But I'm scheduling it every Sunday. What that makes me sure to do is do it because I put it on the schedule. Instead of motivation, I a lot of times rely on discipline. In other words, the night before I say, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow, and then do it. You know, not leaving it to chance, doing it with intention. But of course, hey, good morning. Thanks for the wave. Waving back to you. Love you too. And hey, just coming back from Philadelphia. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, all good stuff, positivity, self-improvement. I just came back from Philadelphia. Yeah, I was in Philadelphia with two of my good friends from California that I used to work with at the Universal City Walk. And what they've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years, once a year, they visit Revolutionary War sites on the East Coast. And they've been to Boston, New York, and different Virginia. And this trip, they invited me to go to Philadelphia with them. So we actually visited the First Continental Congress, where they met, you know, Ben Franklin, where he had a printing business there in Philadelphia. And I learned a lot, not only the Revolutionary War, but we visited some Civil War sites, specifically when we went to Gettysburg. And that was amazing. Oh, my goodness. Where that battle took place, the Colonial Army, George Washington. Oh, no, that's the, no, that was the North versus the South. But that was a whole interesting bit of history that I really wasn't up on like I should be. Hey, everybody, thanks for checking in. Hey, I'm walking to the park, going to do my sprints. It's one thing about a trip sometimes, it gets you off of your routine. And the way to look at it is that it is in a good way. I had worked out hard pretty continuously for quite a few months. So then you're kind of hesitant to take 5 or 6 days off. But really, it's always good to take a little break, a little time off from weight training. And I didn't work out per se, but visiting all those historical places around Philadelphia and Gettysburg, Valley Forge, we were walking 12 to 15,000 steps a day. So a lot of walking. So that was good. A couple times we were standing for quite a while. The back was hurting a little bit. So no sprinting, no weight training for 6 days. But I'm back at it. As you know, I start my weeks on Sunday. So this is day one. And just like for you, it could be day one for the rest of your life. And listen, not always a lot of desire for self-improvement, personal growth stuff. But man, is it important for quality of life, quality of relationships, and just moving forward, doing the right thing in the right way for the right reason. All those things that can enhance our life. And listen, when we get better individually, who benefits but more than us? Family, friends, anybody who's around us, right? Because we are on the next level. You and I, right? They're lucky to be around us. They're lucky that we walk into the room where they are, right? They get to feel our positive energy, right? They're going to love the way we make them feel. Sometimes people don't remember what you say or do, but they do remember how you make them feel. So maybe we didn't bestow upon them a lot of politics knowledge, but maybe we came at them with a little bit of positive energy. Maybe we engaged them in a positive conversation. And so those things I like to do. They have served me well. Been a cop for 35 years, retired over 13 years ago, stand-up comedy for over 30 years, got the podcast going now, and stuff that I like to do. I like to film, edit, and create content. Now, this is not new for me. Not new at all. When I was 16, I used to take my dad's Super 8 movie camera, and I used to create scenes and film them. 16 years old, right? Over, 52 years ago. And then I would have to take the film and develop it, wait 7 to 10 days. I'd have to weave it into the projector and then show it to my family or friends. Now, I could turn on a camera and broadcast to the world. A couple days ago, while in Philadelphia, people from Indonesia piped in, people from several different European countries, and pretty fantastic stuff. And I'm getting ready to do my sprints in this park here. And what I do is, I'm going to pick like 50 yards, and then I'm going to start my sprints. I'm going to see if I can go over in the shade a little bit, maybe acknowledge your presence because you're important to me. All right? Good to connect with people, sometimes even on your device. But in these days, we have to concentrate on monitoring how much we let our device control us. We need to control our device, what we pay attention to, right? That's the key, what we think about. We become what we think about all day long, as Bob Proctor talks about, because he often talks about Earl Nightingale and the strangest secret that he created. It's probably 70 years ago now. But how we think and what we think about is so important, what we implant in our subconscious mind. So, hey, thanks for letting me distract myself with this broadcast, because then I can put off doing my sprints. Hello, everybody. 67s. Hey, please say 67. Hey, 67. All right. I was in Philly for the Spirit of 1776. I was there. We actually visited the First Continental Congress where they met before the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We saw a statue of a guy named Robert Morris, who at one time was the richest man in the country, and then he became the poorest man in the country, and they threw him in debtor's jail. And they actually came up with some laws to get him out of jail. And that's really spearheaded the bankruptcy laws that would allow someone to escape from what they owed. And it's interesting, the history of the country. As much as I don't concentrate on politics, it really did shape our country and the freedoms that we do have today. We need to protect those. At the same time, I think the best way we can protect those is by being capitalist, right? Starting our own little business. Hey, for me, I worked for the government for 35 years. So now, being a capitalist, having a business, I've written a couple books, and have now a life coaching and a health coaching business. And so these things are fun to me. Creating contact is something I like to do. We need to pair our natural talents with our passions. That's going to be the secret to enjoying life. Thanks, everybody, for checking in. I know we got people jumping on and off the shorts feed, and I really do appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why I go live in the vertical mode, because I know it shows up on the shorts feed, and I get to connect with people that already aren't subscribed to the channel. They're new people. They go, who the hell's this crazy Cliff Yates? I might want to watch him once in a while. Seems like he creates positive, self-improving, personal growth content. So I might just subscribe. That's my call to action. Everybody subscribe. Hey, listen, it's all about how we can live better every day in every way than we did yesterday. And that should be the only comparison, right? Be in the present moment. Even as we plan for tomorrow, be present in today. That's why it's called presence. It's a present to ourselves and the people around us to concentrate on the present moment. This is what we have today. What we have is now. What we have is today. Not the most popular always as far as, you know, content creation is, you know, personal growth, motivation, inspiration. Those kind of things, they're not as popular, or they don't inspire engagement as much as controversial content, which I certainly have the ability to do, but I choose not to do it. Oh man, you are amazing. To say I'm amazing, somebody just made my day, everybody. Thank you very amazing 13. Obviously, you're amazing. That's your name. That's your contact name. You're amazing. So, all right, you know, as much as I try to focus on not doing things or needing validation, doing things to get a positive response, as much as I try to free myself from the judgment and opinion of others, encouragement from other people does make a big difference to me. I do value it. As much as I want to have the mindset that others, other people's judgment or opinion of me is none of my business, I need to go forward with what I want and need to do. Encouragement that I do receive is important. I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyways, but I have to say I value encouragement. It makes it different in everybody's life. And that's why some people say I have the gift of encouragement, because you know what? I recognize how it makes me feel, and sometimes how it comes at just the right time, just the right moment in life. Someone gives me an encouraging word, an encouraging message. And when that comes and I realize, wow, I didn't even know I had a little dip in emotions, which I also value the fact that I do feel the full range of my emotions. I wish that everybody in our great country and world let themselves feel the full range of their emotions, stay away from antidepressants, and only the most extreme cases, you know, maybe to prevent suicide or someone who's really in such a bad way, maybe temporarily. But in the long run, the best antidepressant I have is movement, right? Attitude of gratitude, being around people of like-mindedness. Is what I mean by like-minded is people that are really a positive influence on other people, which when I get in their circle, I reap the benefits, which is why I like to be one of the cogs in that wheel. If I can be the cog in that wheel, if I can be a cog in somebody's positive influence, I can play a part, then that is meaningful to me. It's kind of a life with purpose. You know, just to survive is pretty damn easy, at least for us right now in this day and age. Although when I look back in my trip to Philadelphia this past week, just seeing what the colonial troops had to endure at Valley Forge during a harsh winter as they trained to go back into battle, and their family followed them on foot. Some of these people didn't have shoes or crappy shoes, and they're treading over snow. You know, a lot of them were sick with typhoid and other diseases, and they still kept on going. They were willing to fight and against the British, and what they had to endure. I mean, we sometimes claim to have to endure, but the benefits of this current life is really, it's unbelievable. So when we say don't compare yourselves to other people, sometimes maybe it'll serve us to compare ourselves to other times when people really had hardships, right? When people were really struggling, when really people didn't have adequate shelter and food, and they were fighting for the goodness of our country, their fellow human, their fellow man and woman. Those were tough times. So I'm glad I got to see that this past weekend in Philadelphia, just because it gave me a perspective. Well, getting a different perspective is so important. I mean, if you can do that on a daily basis, you know, if you can do that in every situation, here's a personal growth tip that I try to do, and sometimes I forget to do, right, is always be looking at things from three different perspectives, right? We have our perspective right now, right, that we're seeing our current situation from our point of view. Now, if at the same time, we can look at it from another's point of view, somebody else's point of view back towards us, and at the same time, maybe we can distance ourselves, put ourselves above the situation, and now get a perspective above us, above everybody, looking down, kind of an omnipresent look, right? Change our view of things. Bob Proctor talks about taking a problem, writing it down on a piece of paper, and then looking at it from different views, different perspectives. He talks about writing a problem down on a piece of paper in the center of the table and actually changing his position at the table. In other words, okay, now I've looked at this problem from this angle. Now I'm going to move myself to the other side of the table and I'm going to look at it from that view. And if we can do that, what a difference that's going to make in how we respond to different problems instead of just reacting in an emotional sense by how we feel instantaneously. If we can take a pause between the stimulus and then our response. If I've learned anything from any kind of therapy or advice, and that's really to take that breath and learn to respond with intention, right? Instead of reacting. You know, I mean, you stub your toe, you're going to react, right? But if you take a minute, then you can respond, and we can do that in every situation. And I was kind of employing that, and I liked doing that, especially when I was traveling. You know, I traveled on Frontier Airlines this past week, so the discount airlines, and I have you know, it's worth it to me to have a little stress as possible on these airlines. So what I do is I pay the extra money to check a bag, and then I only have a personal item, which a personal item can be a backpack, which you can put quite a bit in it. And so then now I don't have to get on the plane until the last possible minute. So I don't have to be looking at the chaos that's going around with the overhead bins and people trying to get to their seat. And so now by the time I get on the plane, we're pretty close to closing the hatch door and taking off. But of course, and then when it's time to get off the plane, all of that chaos I avoid because I'm only, now granted, I have to go to baggage claim, but if you've been on these discount airlines, the plane lands, you know, they're not even to the gate yet, and everybody's unbuckling, and they're already in the aisle moving forward. Nobody waits till the rows empty, you know, in unison, you know, in sequence. Uh, People just trying to get a jump, and you know, I definitely appreciate it when people have a connecting flight they can't get to, and I'm more than happy. You know, hey, let those people go forward. But now everybody rushes the aisle, and I get it; they're tired of sitting. But hey, let's have some decorum. But I don't add to that stress or that chaos, right? We have no control over that chaos when we're flying, but we can avoid adding to it. I'm not going to get involved in a confrontation. I'm not going to be confronting anybody else. I'm going to be taking the higher road. So I'm going to doing what I can to avoid the chaos, right? That's a good way to not add to it is by avoiding it. Sometimes we have to actively avoid it. And so, man, I'm almost to the point where I think I should start spending more money for a higher price ticket on a not such a discount airlines because of the chaotic things that go on. But I had a great trip. For me, it was a good trip because, you know, from Orlando to Philadelphia was only 2 hours and 40 minutes. So my flight was a kick in the ass easy. Now, my buddies who were coming from California, not only did they have a 5-hour flight, but then they had a 3-hour loss of time coming to the East Coast because of the time differential. And then going back against the wind, they got about a 6-hour flight. And then they gained 3 hours. But of course, the body has to adjust to it. But we had a great time. And I've never been interested in the Revolutionary War sites or history or the Civil War battlegrounds or the history. But you know what? I should, and I would, and I will. And so I am going to take a bigger interest in it because of everything I learned this past week. And so being in Philadelphia, in the heart of Philadelphia, to where the original White House was, to where I didn't even realize that Philadelphia at one time was the capital of the United States or capital of the 13 colonies. And, you know, the Britain came over and they won a battle for Philadelphia, you know, and they thought, well, when we collapse the capital, that's the end of the war. But of course, we fought on. Even though we lost that battle, we just moved our capital to York, Pennsylvania, and we continued to fight for our independence and our sovereignty. And of course, in the end, we won out because Britain was so deluded in their efforts all around the world. And we persevered. That's basically how we won. Washington lost a lot of battles, I found out. He was the greatest man for the job at the time. And many times he was not the greatest general. Many times he went into battles not fully prepared. He didn't do his homework. He didn't gather the intelligence that he could have. But he did persevere, and he was the greatest leader for that time. But to see some of the actual burial grounds, to see some of the battlefields this past week was, you know what? Not just in history, but to be part of our country's history as far as learning about it, I was inspired and motivated. You know, when I talk about motivation, a lot of people poo-poo motivation. We do really have to motivate ourselves, right? It's about self-motivation. No one's coming along. No one's going to knock on the door. You know, we have to do it, right? We have to motivate ourselves. And so I have to tell you, this past week, visiting the Revolutionary War sites, visiting where the First Continental Congress met before the signing of the Declaration of Independence, that motivated, inspired me, right, to take a stand in our own lives, to make our own moves, to take control of our own intentions. And in doing so, we're going to take control of our own results. These 56 men who really, they risked everything to sign a piece of paper for our independence. And the risk was their life, right? If it didn't go well, they knew they would be arrested, probably shipped over to London where they would be tried and hanged. And that was the best outcome for treason. They were going to be considered guilty of treason, which is going to be punishable by being hanged by King George III and the British government. But, you know, it was the overstepping of Britain, of King George, that caused the Revolutionary War because it went down to taxation without representation. You know, the 13 colonies were thriving, beginning to thrive and make money and really operate as capitalists. And then King George from Britain decided we need to get a bigger piece of that pie. And they just started taxing more and more. And then the colonies, or most of the people, they said, hey, enough is enough. And then we had the Boston Tea Party. And we have all those things that really, through domino effect, resulted in our sovereignty as a nation. And now you and I, a lot of us, are a benefactor of the United States of America, but not everybody on here, because I get people who actually, I'm so happy and grateful that people from all over the world have been watching my podcast and listening on the podcast platform. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, everybody. I'm live on YouTube Vertical because I know it shows up in the shorts feed, and I get to connect with people who aren't already subscribed. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, the best thing to do, especially nowadays when there's such a lack of it, is to connect with people on a personal level in person. And I've been focusing on that. But also, connecting through technology is something that can be utilized when necessary and create great pleasure. The fact that you could have a family member halfway around the world and you could FaceTime them instantaneously. Hey, this is where I am. This is what I'm doing. How are you? It's good to see you physically, even though we're thousands of miles apart. So in that way, that connection is good and it's important. And another reason I like to go live is because I'm so sick and tired, really, of a lot of the creative content that's AI generated. And AI is a good tool for a lot of things. And I actually enjoy AI created content that's humorous, but I don't like it for stuff that's trying to be disingenuous or fool me into thinking, hey, this is real. This is really what somebody said, when in fact, it's a lie. And so when it's meant for deception and to deceive, I can't go for that. So everybody, this is what I'm getting ready to do now. If you don't know already, I'm 68 years young as far as years. Now, energy-wise, vigor-wise, ambition-wise, I'm 31, all right? 31 years old. So 31, everybody, I'm 31 as far as ambition, health, strength. Now, 68 are the years that I've gathered. But I'm getting ready to do my sprints now. So I've got to get after it. I sprint once a week. And I'll tell you, sprinting is healthy, everybody. Sprinting is healthy. And you should try it. Sprint once a week. Or check out the Primal Health Coach Institute. And Mark Sisson, who is the founder of the Primal Health Coach Institute, you know, he advocates for sprinting once every 7 to 10 days. And I think it played a role in my testosterone skyrocketing. I take no TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy. I don't take it. Some people don't believe me because they said, how can your testosterone be over 1,000? You have to take something. You know, a lot of people poo-poo it. I go, listen, this is what I do. I sprint once a week. I do deadlifts now, once a week. Heavy lifting. I do a farmer's carry in the gym with 2 heavy dumbbells. I do jump rope. And I play tennis. Now, each one of those activities might play a part in my testosterone being so high. I think it does. But hey, if your plan's not working, try my plan. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, you're in the right place. My content is always going to be personal growth, self-improvement. You know, how we can get better every day in every way than we were yesterday. It's all going to be good stuff. I follow all the gurus who say they're not gurus. I follow Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, Dean Graziosi, Andy Frisella. I follow all these guys and gals, several women that are involved in the personal growth movement. I love them too. Hey, I love everybody. Sometimes that's hard. And then you know it's the right thing to do. Loving everybody is hard. We don't have to like them. But if you go forth, if you want to feel love, this is one of the secrets I had to learn the hard way. If you want to feel love and get love, you give it. Put it out there, right? You're putting out joy, love, kindness. If you're putting that shit out there, that's what's going to come back to you. It's really a boomerang effect. And it's addicting. Once you start getting to the point where you realize, wow, that's what I'm getting back, right? We're all in a vibration. We got to go back to those old sayings, right? Hey, man, I don't like your vibe, right? Because it's the vibration you're picking out. That vibration, the vibration that you put out is so powerful. I'm going to prove it to you right now. You have probably been in a situation, right, where all of a sudden you turned around, you felt someone looking at you. They were so focused on you that you felt that energy and you turned around. Now, I have felt that. And on the other end, I've looked at a beautiful woman with intense focus. Next thing you know, they turn around and look at me. They felt the energy from my focus, right? Their back was turned to me, but they felt that energy enough to turn around. Now, that's proof enough. That's our own research and experiment, that our focus narrows our vibrational frequency to such an extent other people feel it. And that's why someone can walk into a room and you can feel the negativity or the positivity. You can feel when someone walks into a room and they repel you. You do not want to be around them. You know when somebody walks into a room and you want to be around them. They're magnetic. They're on a higher frequency. They're operating on the higher frequencies. We are God's greatest form of creation. We can do things that the other animals can't do, right? We can reason. We can plan and execute. We can be social to the point we can create things, right? We are able to create things. Yeah, God created that beautiful oak tree, and then he created us, and then we were able to take that tree and make it a beautiful coffee table because we're created in God's image, which makes us a creator. And so we can take natural things and create things out of them. We can speak them into existence, really, by our ideas in our head. You know, when you talk about having faith in things that are unseen, guess what? Everything that was created, this net here, was once somebody's thought. That thought was unseen. No one could see that thought. But the person who created that thought in their head, they created it in their mind by imagination. There was an image first. Then they spoke it. Then they arranged to have it made. So that's how we are creators. Oh man, it's so good to connect with you today. But you know what? I've been inspired and motivated to continue talking with you, partly because I like doing it. The other part is I'm avoiding doing my sprints. All right, we're getting a little breeze up here. I think I'm going to get after my sprints because I'm actually going to go to the gym today too. I don't normally go on Sundays, but since I've had a week off, in my travels, I'm going to head and push some heavy iron today besides doing my sprints. All right, everybody, you know I love you. Thanks for connecting. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. What does that do, man? I tell you, it costs you nothing. You'll get notified when the next video comes out, but it tells whatever the algorithm and computer is that, hey, there must be some value in this content. People are commenting, liking, sharing, and they're subscribing. We better show this to other people who are interested in these things, which are how we can get better every day in every way than we were yesterday. And hey, if that's not your bag, and it's not everybody's bag, believe me, I meet people every day. They want nothing to do, but they'd rather float through life. And, you know, so for some reason, they live their life like they're going to live 10,000 years. I mean, they are just floating around. And not me. I have a sense of urgency. I've always had that sense of urgency. Of course, it does get more and more once you're on the back half. When you're starting to live your second 50 years, then you do start to pay more attention. And yeah, there's a greater sense of urgency to live on purpose. Now, I have friends. They're in similar financial circumstances that I am. They're taken care of health-wise and their money-wise, but yet they choose. You know, not that I don't take time to be by myself. I don't take time to stare at the water, be by the ocean on the beach. I do spend time with my face in a book, but I kind of balance that out with my ambition. And I have a strong ambition to not only create, but have a positive impact on other people. I find great, you know, we got to do one of two things, right? We either have to sell something or provide a service. That's the way to live life greatly. Not only in business, but just personally, is to either sell something or provide a service, and or both. If you're just trying to get a spouse, you know what? You're selling yourself. If you want more friends, you really kind of got to sell yourself, right? Just in your connection with other people. You have to be willing to be a little bit vulnerable and put yourself out there. You know what? You start to care less about what other people think of you when you realize how little they do think of you. People are living their damn lives. They're not concerned with what you're doing. And so just go forward serving other people, and it's going to give you a life of purpose. And if this content you know, touches you in some way, in a positive way, subscribe to the channel. Leave me a message. Interact with the channel. Check out some of my videos. I'm going to continue with my purpose right now for what I'm focusing on, and that's utilizing my gift of encouragement. I have a lot of energy, ambition, and vigor, and now I want to focus that in a positive way. And so I want to keep expanding my area of influence more and more. Lord, give me more and more responsibility to serve. And that's what I'm looking to do. If you're in the same ballpark, hey, join me, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. I got to get sprinting right now.